review for the quadratic inequalities test, and only the inequalities, quadratic inequalities part. The next part will come next week for the other inequalities. So for all of these, you need to graph them on a number line. So when they have one variable like y or x or p, as all these at the top do, you need to solve them on a number line. And many of them, if not all of them, will involve factoring. So for this one, we need to find factors of 70 that add to negative 17. So it's going to be x minus 10 and x minus 7. And we know that our zeros then, next step is to find the zeros. My zeros, if it were an equals, would be 7 and 10. I'm going to draw my number line and put 7 and 10 on my number line. So we've talked about a couple ways to do this. In Mrs. Vogt's class, we did a lot of positive, negative, positive. Some others did like true and false. So I'll try to show a couple examples of that. So I draw lines straight down at my numbers, and then I pick a number over here. So for example, if I pick negative 6. If I pick negative 6, and I'm not negative 6, if I just pick 0, that would be really great. 0 is easy. 0 minus 10 is negative 10. 0 minus 7 is negative 7. A negative times a negative is a positive. Pick a number in between here, 8, and I plug it in. 8 minus 10 is negative, and 8 minus 7 is positive. And a negative times a positive is a negative. And then over here, I might pick like 12. 12 minus 10 is positive. 12 minus 7 is positive. Two positives make a positive. And then I need to look at my sign. It's asking me for where is it negative. And that's in here for me. That's where it's negative. And then running out of room, though, my answer should be that x is greater than 7 and less than 10. Okay. When it is not set equal to 0, you need to add this to both sides. So I'm going to end up with a quadratic. Okay, that's greater than 0. And then factor. So x plus 4, x plus 5. My x's would be at negative 4 and negative 5. And this time I'll do the like true false way. So still with my number line. And then I'm going to pick a point over here like negative 6. If I plugged in negative 6, and I would get 36 minus 36 plus 13, that's a positive number. And since this is greater than 0, then that makes this true. Okay, so like 13 is greater than 0. If I pick a number in between here, like 4.5, and plug it in, I'd get a negative number, so it would be false. And I know I kind of skipped over doing that, but you should type those in. So now I know that these spots where it's true is where my is where it's true. So I have x that's less than negative 5, and x is greater than negative 4. This one I need to get everything on this right side over to the left side. Before I do that, though, I'm going to distribute, distribute. So I get p squared plus p greater than 112 minus 5p. Add 5p to both sides. Subtract 112 from both sides. So I get p squared plus 5p minus 112 greater than 0. And you now need to factor factors of 112 that equal 5. So factors of 112 that equal 5, it's like, let's see, Desmos. I feel like it's 112 divided by 7 or something like that. Let's see. Yeah, 7 and 16, that doesn't work because we want to equal 6. because I can't add. So let's try it again. Divided by 8 and 14. There we go. So 8 and 14. So I'm going to get P plus 14, P minus 8. My x's are at negative 14 and positive 8, so you need to draw your number line. Okay, and then I need to pick points on the outside. So if I pick negative 15, I like to plug it into my factored form. Negative 15 plus 14 is negative. This will be negative. Negative times negative is positive. If I pick a number in between like 0, I get 14 times negative 8. That's a negative number. And if I pick a number out here like 10, I get a positive times a positive, which is a positive. I want to know where it's greater than 0. So that would be these ends. So x less than negative 14 and x greater than 8. Okay. Again, with this one, you need to distribute first. So you get negative 3a minus 6. Okay. And I'm going to add 3a to both sides. I'm going to add 6 to both sides. So I get a squared plus 6a plus 8 is less than 0. You need to factor first. So I get x plus 2 and x plus 4. So negative 4 and negative 2 are my zeros. I'm kind of skipping some of the steps because I'm running out of room. And then you're going to test your points, and you will find, I want to know where it's less than 0, and that's in here. So x is between, I'm running out of room, negative 4 and negative 2. I want to make sure to do number 5 because there will be using AC method on the test. Okay, so you have to factor by AC method. So you need to get everything on one side over here. So I'm going to subtract 5x and add 2 and that over here as well. So I like to make a positive x squared value. That really helps for factoring. So if you have the choice, like if I look at number 6, I'm going to add 2y squared to both sides because that's going to give me a positive squared term, and that makes my factoring a lot easier. So remember, when I have this, I need to take a times c, 4. I need factors of 4 that add to 5, and it's negative. So I need to, so since these are both negative 5 is a negative number, negative 1 and negative 4. And then I need to split this term up. I have 2x squared minus 4x minus 1x plus 2. And I cut it in half. Out of the front, I can factor a 2x. I'm going to factor out a negative 1, and then I get this. So I'm going to have my factors, I'm running out of room here, are 2x minus 1 and x minus 2. So my x's are 1/2 and 2. So those are the numbers that I need to put on the number line and then test. So I've shown that a few times. I'm going to go through just to factor some of these and make sure we understand that as I'm running out of room, so you can test this answer. And so like I talked about with this one, I'm going to put the 2y squared on this side. So 2y squared, I'm going to write it in standard form. And then factors of 20 that add to 9 are negative 4 and negative 5. So this is that AC method again. I'm going to cut it in half. I'm going to take out a 2y, and I'm left with y minus 2. And I'm going to factor out a negative 5, because then I'm left with y minus 2 over here. My factors are 2y minus 5 and y minus 2, which means my zeros are x, when you solve it, is 5 halves and 2. I want to make sure to talk about number 7. So I want to make sure we talk about number 7. You need to subtract 10a from both sides. And you get a squared minus 10a plus 25, it's supposed to be a plus, is less than 0. When you factor this, you get a minus 5. I wrote x, but I meant a minus 5. So your zeros are that a equals 5 only. And so when I put that on the number line, I'm not going to put this into 3 sections because I only have 1 0. And so it would be an open circle there. I can't plug in 5. That would make it equal 0. But what happens is when I plug in a number over here, I get positive or false. And if I plug in numbers over here, I get positive or false. And so I am looking at this, and it's all false. There's nothing here. This has no solution because this is always positive. No solution. Okay, it's always positive and it's never negative. All right, so 7 has no solution, and then I want to just do 10 and 11. I feel confident that you can that you can solve these others, and I don't want to do them all for you. When I distribute here, I get v squared is greater than or equal to 4v minus 20. And then I'm going to use algebra to move them both over. So I get v squared minus 4v plus 20 is greater than or equal to 0. And then when I look at this, I notice that I can't think of factors of 20 that add to -4. And I know, for example, that my y-intercept is at 20. It's way up here. And if I wondered where the vertex was, I could find that too. Like negative b over 2a would be positive 4 over 1. And I could plug it in and I would get 4 squared, 16. So what would happen is it would be up here, right? And all the way up here, and it's never negative. So what answers make this positive? Well, any answer that I would plug in would make it positive because I don't have any zeros. So what I need to do is the answer to this one is all real numbers because it's always up above. Okay, so just as when you're thinking about this, like what are my zeros, and we can graph it too if that helps everybody find the answer better. And you will not have Desmos, but it's still nice to know that we have v squared minus 4v plus 20. So x squared minus 4x plus 20. Can't even see it right away, but you'll notice it's way up here. And I divided wrong. When I did negative b over 2a, it would have been 2, so equals 2. And you could find the coordinates of your vertex, and you would find that it would be here. And you can do that without a calculator, but it should make sense if you're looking at the picture. But why is this always positive? Because no number I put in makes this equation negative. And then 11 is similar, where when I solve this, and then I, greater than -13, and then add 13 to both sides, I get 6x squared plus 19 is greater than 0. And if I were to think about this on a graph, it would be centered right here at 0, 0, and this would be crossing at 19. This is always positive, meaning no matter what number I put in, it is always positive. So this one is also all real numbers.